All right, what's up, everybody? Y'all, we are doing something a little bit different here on the channel. Usually, you guys hear plenty of my voice on this channel, but y'all, sometimes doing video essays by yourself gets a little old. So, one of my favorite things is to be able to talk to other people about movies and horror and all of that jazz. And so, I reached out to a fellow content creator that painfully knows the woes of talking to yourself in front of a camera. Zach from ZakIsCinema is with me to talk some spooky nonsense. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
So I found your Scream stuff because my name
Mhm.
is Joe and I have a problem. So Scream is my go-to. It's my a
Oh,
number
is it?
one.
Okay.
Yeah. Scream one. I'm that guy that like I need. Okay, so it's been a long day and I
Okay.
need some brain candy and I need something to boost my spirits. What do I go
Okay.
to? Scream 1996, 1000%. Um,
It's a solid
and so
choice
I've
though.
probably I've probably seen that movie in the triple digits.
Oh,
But
really?
it's one of those for me that you walk out of it with something entirely new. Like including I got a chance to see one and two, which I started seeing them in
Hmm.
theaters at three. And
Okay.
so I finally got a chance over the last couple of years. One and two returned to theaters, and so I finally got a
Hmm.
chance to see them in theaters, and it was like an entirely new dimension to the
Mm.
movie, getting a chance to see it on the big screen.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely feel that. I haven't had a chance to see like most of the Scream movies in theaters. I think my first Scream movie in theaters was probably was it Scream 5, I think it was. Yeah. Scream
Okay.
5 was probably the first one I got to see. But yeah, like I got to a couple years back, got to see Halloween in theaters, like The Shining when they did the 4K release
Yeah.
in theaters too. But yeah, experiencing some of those like older films in theaters again, it's like as close as you can get to experiencing the movie again for the first time, which for like some of your favorite movies of all time, it's like the best thing you could possibly imagine. So yeah, no, Scream is a solid choice though. I feel like that's like one of the most perfect like comfort horror movies, at least for me. Like it's perfect if you're in like a good mood, perfect if you're in a bad mood, perfect if you're bored or just have nothing to do. Like it hits all those key points.
Yeah. Yeah, and so for me, Wes Craven is the top of the list for, and I'm a cinephile, even beyond horror.
Hmm.
I was raised on movies. I grew up within walking distance of an independent video rental place, and so that was my childhood. And
Hmm.
so for a lot of people, I understand they put Carpenter as the goat for the horror
Right.
genre, and I don't begrudge anybody who puts him up at the top. But Craven's my guy, and part of that is my very first horror movie was Nightmare, and then
Oh,
Nightmare
okay.
3, and then Scream were like the formative ones for me. And so I fell in love with his directing style and all of that. And so for me,
Hmm.
Scream, pound for pound, the prototype for the perfect horror movie.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, Nightmare is a perfect one to like start off with. To be honest, I haven't really gone through like the Nightmare franchise. I've seen the first one like a handful of times, probably like 4 or 5 times. Love that movie right up until the like end point with the dummy thing with the mom
The
getting
dummy
pulled through
core.
the door. I mean, it's like kind of a nitpick. Like it doesn't ruin the movie, but like besides that, like almost a perfect movie. Two, I think I've seen like once, and I don't remember too much about it about like besides like something taking place during like college party at like a pool or something. Like that's like the only thing I remember from that one. And three, I've seen the Dream Warriors one. I think I've seen it twice. And for whatever reason, I feel like I'm on like a bit of an outside with that one because people seem to love Nightmare on Elm Street 3. And like, I don't know, it just didn't really like click for me. I found it more like cheesy entertainment rather than enjoyable for myself, if that makes sense. So I always kind of feel like I'm missing out on something because people like rave about that movie. Some people hold it higher than the first one, the original. And to me, I don't know. It's never clicked for me on that level. Do you enjoy three more than one, or what's your opinion on that?
Oh, so I putting three above one for Nightmare in the same category as the people who put Scream 2 above
Mhm.
Scream 1. It's cool, like what you like. I think you've lost your damn mind, but that's
Okay,
fine.
okay.
You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I so Nightmare 3 I vibe with because of Kincaid, and I've actually met
Okay.
Kincaid, the actor that played him.
Oh shit.
It's funny because I
Okay.
said to him, I was like, we're having a conversation, and I was like, yeah. I was raised on horror, and he's like, "Oh yeah, how old were you when you saw Nightmare for the first time?" I was like 5, dude. The look on his face. It's like, yeah, I mean, I was young. I
Oh,
was
that's
I was very
crazy.
young when I started watching horror, but yeah, not for everybody. But yeah, Nightmare is. defining is genre defining in the same way that Scream is, just in a different
Mm,
way. It takes an aspect of horror and really showcases the reality of that horror, and the way that Wes Craven shows showcases the helplessness of dreaming and
mm,
sleeping and all of that. And there's this enigma that is just this force of nature in dreams.
yeah.
That's why I appreciate like MTV Freddy. You had to be
Hmm.
there. Like growing
I
up
definitely missed out
in
on
the
that.
era.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So 80s slashers are an acquired taste.
Hmm.
But it's I'm not as big of a fan of MTV Freddy as I am Freddy from those first couple of movies, because that's where I think he was the scariest and not
Yeah.
necessarily as quippy and slogan slinging as he gets.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Like I said, I'm not too familiar with the franchise like overall, but I've definitely seen like a bunch of clips and stuff from like what's the first one? Like Freddy's Dead or something, where it just seems like tonally like almost a different movie at that point from, the first couple. Even the third one, like even though it doesn't like click for me as much, like I appreciate the balance of its like campy cheesy side while also having like some of the best scares and kills, like the marionette kill in that movie is fantastic. Like easily still holds up to this day here. But yeah, I'm kind of surprised though that they haven't done like a new Nightmare movie. Like I've never seen any of those in theaters. It seems like you would think like I know Friday the 13th is like caught up with the like legal situation. I think that's kind of like wrapping up now, but like Freddy, like it seemed like they're almost kind of missing their opportunity with like Halloween, like Scream, Texas Chainsaw's coming back with A24. So it's like you would think they would want to kind of like jump on that, you know?
Yeah, the biggest thing with that one is the rights. So
Mhm.
the no nobody is quite sure who holds the rights with Wes Craven having passed away.
Oh, okay.
And so it's legal red tape and nonsense. And I think part of it is they're a little gun shy
Hmm.
because the reboot did terribly. And
Yeah.
the reboots the reboot has some redeeming qualities. I'm not going to be one of
Okay.
those guys that's like, here's my hot take for YouTube. The reboot's
It's the best
actually really
one.
good. No, it sucks. It's terrible. Um, but part of it is you wrote yourself into a corner by
Mhm.
a saying the quiet part out loud. None of us are stupid. We understand. We can read between the lines on what Freddy was. You went ahead
Right.
and said the thing out loud. That's
I've heard
part of
that
the
about it.
problem.
I've never seen it. I've never seen it, but I've heard that's always been like a big complaint. Like they made like that stuff like way more apparent and it just kind of like took everything away from the movie, but
Yeah.
never checked that one out yet. You think it's worth a watch or
I think it's worth a watch after you've seen the core franchise.
Mhm.
Um, because for all of its highs and lows, I think Nightmare is almost like a case study of 80s slashers, because Wes
Mhm.
Craven really like defined a genre, went
Okay.
dormant, came back, did the precursor for redefining another genre, and then
Yeah.
redefined the genre with Scream. And those in between movies really
Hmm.
showcase the fact that like slashers became pop culture icons, a lot in the same
Hmm.
way that in the 90s the Universal monster movies became like kid show stuff. You know what I mean? Like they got turned into cartoons and they got satirized
Okay. Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
turned into serials and all of that sort of jazz. So I think there's good to be had in it. I think
Mhm.
New Nightmare is, for me, one of the only ones that rivals the first. For me, it's like 1, 3,
Yeah.
and New Nightmare are
Okay.
the highlights of the franchise for me.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, I'm one of those people. I've not seen New Nightmare, which I'm surprised because I'm like you, definitely a big fan of Scream, specifically that first one. And I've always heard, I'm not sure if this is accurate, but I've always heard that A New Nightmare was almost kind of like this practice movie before Scream, like a lot of the same kind of like meta commentary, like satire, but horror style. So I'm surprised I haven't checked it out just yet. Especially because I feel like it's like something that I'd really enjoy. So I've only seen the first three so far, but I definitely got to check out A New Nightmare.
Legend has it that when they approached Wes to come back, because he was on the
Mhm.
outs with New Line by that point, that he hadn't seen anything past 3 because there was turmoil with how things shook out with 3 and all of that. He went
Okay,
back and watched it, and after Freddy's dead, basically came to the conclusion, dude, there's nothing more to do. Like this story has
gotcha.
been run
Okay.
into the ground, which is why he went that meta route of,
Mhm.
well, let's set it in the real world and like
Okay.
Freddy and tell a story about telling stories sort of thing. And you're talking
Mhm.
about 93. I believe, New
Okay.
Nightmare came out, and then Scream was 96.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's so interesting. I mean, I could see why Craven would be like one of your favorites, if not your favorite. I feel like
Yeah.
concepts for his movies alone, like his hook and concepts to almost all of his movies are incredible. Like it's like something you can like dream of like thinking about. Like it's just like those perfect like bottle thriller concepts that can lead to like something amazing. So I definitely got to check that out. If you don't mind though, I was curious. You said your like first horror movie or first horror movie experience was what, like around like five or six? Or
Yeah.
you watched
Yeah.
the third one when you were five?
No, the first one.
The
And
first
then
one.
shortly thereafter, I saw the third one.
Okay. Okay. I'm just kind of, if you don't mind me asking, I'm so curious with your I guess like journey with movies, but I guess maybe a little bit more horror specifically, because I feel like mine is gonna be like complete opposite, not till like much more, I guess somewhat recent, but later on. Like not till my like teenage years did I kind of discover that I really love the genre. So I'm just kind of always curious to hear from people that have like grown up with horror, like what that experience was like. Like, did you have it introduced to yourself? Did you kind of discover it on your own?
So so I am a Zennial, so I sit right on the cusp of the end of Gen X and the
Okay.
beginning of Millennial. And for
Oh,
a lot
gotcha.
of us, action and horror were like
Mhm,
the big genres. And so I had heard about like this whole genre with horror and all of that
mhm.
from school. And my parents had a state company, and so they would go in, clean out estates and all of that, and
Yeah,
they
yeah,
would
yeah.
bring home VHSs. And so I would end up with like boxes of VHSs, and
Okay.
and that's how I saw Nightmare. And
Gotcha.
I made it up to the body bag scene where Tina's getting drugged down the
Yep.
school hallway with the in the body bag.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was too much for me at the time. Like that messed me up.
Yeah, I could see that at
But then
being 5 years old. I mean, that's crazy.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, so it's one of those. For me, a lot of it came down to I am what is known as a latchkey kid. Not
Okay.
a whole lot of oversight was to be had when I was
Okay.
young. So not a lot in the way of parameters on movies and all
Yeah,
of
yeah,
that,
yeah.
which is something, because like at this stage of my life now, I there's a reason why I am a living historian for movies
Hmm.
in a lot of respects, because I've seen all of these movies and my tastes have changed drastically
Okay.
today versus
Yeah, yeah,
where
yeah.
I was growing up and in my teens and in my 20s and all of that sort of stuff. Like there's stuff that I like really don't vibe with now that
Hmm.
I wouldn't have had a problem with when I was younger. But yeah, so that's why for me really the big influence was starting
Hmm.
off in like late 70s 80s
Okay.
horror. And then from that point, because the beginning of the 90s really up until Scream,
Yeah.
it's not, I mean, Scream kind of gives the 90s a nice nostalgia feel of like, oh, the 90s were so good for horror. In other words, I promise you I was there. They sucked for horror by and
Okay.
large. There are some highlights, but like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
we're still eating the scraps of the end of the 80s boom in a big
Gotcha.
way
Okay.
in the early 90s. The best thing that we had going on before 96 was Jason Goes to Hell, and that movie is not good.
I never seen that one either. When Candyman come out? I adore Candyman, but was that 98, 97, or was that before Scream?
No, that was 94, I believe.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know why I thought late
yeah,
90s.
94,
Okay.
95.
All right, all right. Well, at least you
Yeah.
got Candyman in there.
Yeah. Candyman is a good one. That's one of those movies that I think rest in power to Tony Todd. Like, man, that dude
Hmm.
was and I think for all of the praise that he gets, he deserves
Yeah.
even more for his role in movies and
Hmm.
TV and all of that sort of jazz. But I think Candyman is one of those movies that is benefited by all of the symbolism and all of
Yeah.
the allegory and all of the theories that have popped up that,
Hmm.
was she just out of her mind and Candyman was never real? Or,
Right.
did she is Candyman a thought form, or whatever the case? Is it a symbol for this, that, or
Hmm.
the other? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And obviously I didn't grow up in in the 80s, but like it always to me seems like a nice like contrast from like the like late 70s, 80s slasher boom where you have Candyman that it is like I guess at the end of the day, if you strip it down, like essentially kind of a slasher movie, but it is like so much more. Like a slasher movie like skin, but like inside there's so much more to it. Like it's more of that like gothic, romantic kind of horror vibe. And like you were saying with Tony Todd, I mean his voice alone is so iconic. And I jump it way ahead here, but that scene with Tony Todd in Bloodlines earlier on last year. I mean, even someone that didn't really like grow up with a lot of movies with Tony Todd, like just seeing like that was like heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Like knowing that he died like just a couple months later. So
Yeah. Yeah. So Bloodlines is actually the
mhm.
reason why this is a horror channel,
Oh,
because
interesting.
Final
Okay,
Destination,
okay.
yeah. So Final Destination is
Mm,
my high school and college experience. They
okay.
were huge for me during that time. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
and they are that era's version of schlocky
mm,
popcorn. You're gonna see fine. Like, are all of them? No, just don't go looking for the freaking Godfather, and you'll be fine.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah,
that,
yeah.
it is what it is.
Hmm.
So this movie coming out all of these years later, and they're talking about it hitting on things from the books and all of this craziness. Like,
Okay.
it really got me invested, which is exactly why I was so bitter about why I thought that movie sucked. That movie was not
Oh,
good. I
you didn't
was
like
not a.
Bloodlines?
I thought it
Ah,
was
you're breaking my
mid.
heart
I
over
thought it was
here.
I thought it was, and maybe this is me
Mm,
being too pretentious,
okay,
because in some ways Final Destination, after the first and second ones,
okay.
was all moments. It was all show. It was
I
all
agree. Yeah,
spectacle.
yeah, 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 yeah.
You know, it was really those first two that focused on telling an interesting story. And part of
Hmm.
it is, for me, I love cosmic horror. I love
Okay.
the idea of staring into the abyss, and the abyss is staring back. That one of the most unsung horror movies for me in
Mm,
all of forever is Event Horizon. Getting a chance to
never
see
seen
that
it.
on the
Yeah,
big
yeah.
screen was such an experience for me, because that movie legitimately scared the hell out of me as a kid. Like, more so than
Okay.
Freddy, more so than Jason, more so than
Yeah.
Michael or any of these. Like, that one really got me.
Hmm.
And so for me, Final Destination 1 and 2 sit
Yeah.
more like, you can look at them kind of like cosmic horror, where the rest of
Okay.
them are just cornball nonsense. And so for me, Bloodlines was like, do not think too hard about the plot.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
Like,
agree.
just
I
wait
agree.
for
Yeah,
some
yeah,
cool
yeah.
kills and you'll be fine. With the exception of the Tony Todd scene. So the
Yeah.
guys knew the I don't know if you know this, but the guys
Okay.
that the creators knew that he was dying, and
Oh,
basically
okay.
said, "Here you go," and
Yeah, I did hear about
gave him an
that.
open mic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like kind of gave him a general guide for the scene, but it was almost like pretty much just improv, like at that point.
Yeah, say what you
Um,
want to say.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, no, I definitely so I have an interesting relationship with the Final Destination franchise where, like I was kind of hinting at, I didn't I love horror and like thriller movies. I'd say those are my two primary go-to genres right now. But I like grew up in such a very strict religious household that like I think my first horror movie experience that I can remember was um Shyamalan's The Visit that I saw in theaters, which like looking back on it, it's so funny to say that I had like nightmares. I couldn't sleep that night after I saw it, after like the grandma was like chasing the kids in the little crawl space underneath the house. Like absolutely petrified me. But I always grew up so religious that like, you think everyone in my church and like community, like horror was like, that's like the devil stuff. Like if you're watching that stuff, you're kind of like inviting that kind of side and presence into your life, into your home. Like don't go over there sort of thing. So I always like viewed movies like that to be almost kind of like real life, like just things that I didn't want to be a part of because like that stuff is like real. So I like I like vividly remember when The Conjuring was coming out, and I think what is that, like 2012, 2013? So I was right
Something like that.
around,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I was right around like 12 or 13 years old when that movie was coming out, and like just the trailers alone, you can. My brother still gives me shit about this, but like I saw the trailer, like the TV spot for it, and had like nightmares for weeks about it because I'm like this stuff is like real. If I watch this, like this shit's gonna be jumping out at me when I'm trying to like go to bed at night. So like that was like kind of my relationship with horror. So as I got older and gained some more like independence, it could kind of like not just be limited to what I could watch at home or what my parents
Right.
like approved of. I like tested it out with The Visit, and that was my first like theatrical horror experience. And even though that movie like petrified me to my core, I still like I can't remember the last time I had like that much fun in a theater with a couple of my buddies, like just like experiencing something that genuinely like terrified me and I felt like I shouldn't be watching. But then at the end of the day, I was safe. Like I was fine. I was like, oh shit, like you can enjoy this and be scared in the moment, but like right after you're gonna be fine. And like from there on, I went on this like journey of just trying to like catch up on every single horror movie or horror franchise that I've been missing all these years. And one of the first franchises I jumped into was Scream and then Final Destination for some reason. I don't know how I chose them, but Final Destination was one of them where obviously didn't really grow up with them. Always kind of like heard about them or heard about famous log scene, like seeing clips from that. So like binge through the like entire series. This was like a couple years before like Bloodlines came out. So interesting relationship with it where I agree with you that I adore the first one. Like the first one and Bloodlines are my favorite out of the franchise. Like I don't really know if I could pick one of those, but like the second one, I'm not as high on as like most people. Definitely a really solid sequel. I think five is pretty underrated too, despite some of the god awful like effects and CGI, especially with the bridge collapse scene. Like some of the worst shit I've ever seen. But I definitely adore Bloodlines. I adore that first one. But like once I discovered like that side of horror too, like the screams, the like I Know What You Did Last Summer, the Final Destination franchise, like the horror that has like these fun over the top set pieces, has some unsettling moments, but like it's just there to kind of provide like entertainment. That's when I like really delved into. I'm like, okay, so horror can be like something like actually unsettling and scary, but you can also have like fun with it. Like it's almost like two different genres within one subgenre, if that makes sense. So that's where like it kind of started. So definitely Final Destination and I guess Shyamalan's The Visit was kind of my like start for horror, which I feel like is so random, but
Yeah, there are very few movies
mm,
that I think to shut off midway through, and The Visit was one of them. I don't like part of it is I grew up with Shyamalan,
okay.
like with The Sixth
Yeah.
Sense and all of that jazz.
Hmm.
He figured out something that worked with The Sixth Sense and just kept making the same friggin' movie over and over and over again. You've
Gotta
seen
throw
one
that
M. Night
twist in there. Yep.
yeah. So it's weird because I have a very weird relationship with um religion over the course of my life and all
Hmm.
of that. Did not grow up in a religious household, grew up in a very spiritually aware household, had a
Gotcha.
lot of experiences with the paranormal and with, extrasensory stuff and the whole nine yards. Um
Okay.
but so I didn't come to religion until my late 20s.
Okay.
And so for me, that's part of what I bring to. So I normally do deep dive um, video essays on this
Yeah.
channel, and part
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is because I think there's a healthiness to really examining the deeper notes and the deeper themes within these movies. It's a little
Hmm.
frustrating when the religious crowd is like, this whole thing, this is going to invite the devil. Like, don't get me wrong. There
Yeah.
are things that go bump in the night. There's a reason why I don't go out and do paranormal investigations anymore, because you stare into the abyss and sometimes the abyss stares back. You know what I mean? Like that's just
Yeah. Yeah.
is
Yeah.
what it is. But that's also why. So like Paranormal Activity. But
Okay.
so I gotta ask,
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
your age bracket, Blair Witch. Have you watched Blair Witch?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I've seen Blair Witch. Yep.
Okay, what are your thoughts on Blair Witch?
So obviously I watched it after like obviously I knew it was just a movie and like I really wish I could have experienced that like when people were like is this a movie, is this not a movie, like we don't know.
Yeah.
But I have like a soft spot for found footage. I know most of them are just like messes of movies, but Blair Witch was one of those earlier horror movies I got to experience and I really love the movie. It's just not I've seen it like twice. It's just not one like I appreciate it, but I'm not gonna like revisit it all that frequent. So I guess that's kind of my
Yeah.
thoughts on it.
So I'm very happy to hear somebody who's younger watching horror that doesn't think that it's overly slow. Because
Hmm.
usually that's what I
Yeah,
hear,
not at
right?
all.
Like I
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
I showed my niece and nephew are both very firmly in that Gen Z populace, and
Okay.
both of them think it's boring, and I'm like, you're breaking my heart.
Interesting.
Um,
Okay.
but having been in that
Yeah, yeah,
age
yeah.
bracket where like 99, I remember the marketing campaign, I remember when it came out, and the
Hmm.
at home internet was a thing, but like
Yeah.
you're online and your parents need to use the phone. You're not online anymore. You're getting kicked off. Like, so the idea, like, you had to be like one of those people who found like the old
Gotcha.
school message boards in order to get any kind of movie news or anything else like that. And
Yeah.
so yeah, there was a time at the very beginning when this movie came out that
Hmm.
people were actually going to Burkittsville. People were actually going out to Maryland to try
Interesting.
to find these people. Like, people thought that this was actually legit.
That's so crazy.
So, but yeah, that's that. That was a thing, and so like there is a level of with Blair Witch that like you kind of had to be there a little bit with
I could see
what
that. Yeah.
to get the maximum effect. But yeah, paranormal and found footage are
Hmm.
have become two of my go tos for like more modern
Okay.
and a big part of that for me is post Paranormal Activity. And so like
Mm,
I was doing paranormal investigations. I knew the real Ed and Lorraine Warren, America's favorite con artist couple. I don't have a lot nice to say about Ed and Lorraine. Lorraine was like your grandmother. You wanted her to be your grandmother. She was
okay.
seemingly sweet. She was
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
such a nice lady, but like holy crap were those two like just expert con artists. And so you know that was all the rage when that movie came out.
Mm,
And so like being a paranormal investigator watching that movie was like
yeah,
holy
yeah.
crap, this is amazing, this is the second coming of Blair Witch and all of that sort of jazz. And so and I think
Mm,
that's part of why a whole generation flocked to that, because usually the people that
gotcha.
advocate for that movie the hardest are the
Yeah.
older versions of the kids that were going out to the theaters and watching Blair Witch.
That's so interesting. But yeah, no, going back to what you were saying about like Blair Witch and stuff, I hear that like all the time too. Like I really haven't like shown Blair Witch to like a lot of people, but a lot of people that have like seen it that I talk to think it's like slow, boring, just like, the only creepy parts the last like kind of couple minutes, and even that's not worth it. But for me, I feel like found footage specifically, at least with my experience, always just creates like such a unique like atmosphere that is so hard to recreate with standard filmmaking. And obviously standard filmmaking has its benefits over found footage, but like when you get a solid found footage movie that has like decent writing, like good acting, and can create that like atmosphere, like the Blair Witch does, it creates like an experience that not a lot of movies can like really provide. Like, yeah, I guess technically it's slower or a little bit more uneventful than maybe most horror movies, but I feel like the like atmosphere and like the vibe it kind of creates and really like puts you in the woods with those characters is like it makes up for all those other traditional shortcomings that people like to kind of like point out. And I'm with you on Paranormal Activity. That was obviously one I didn't see like in the theaters and kind of watched after the craze of Paranormal Activity, but very similar experience. Like I'd never seen like something like that. I've seen a couple up until that point, like a couple found footage movies, but like a found footage experience where you're like embedded into this family's home and like experiencing the paranormal with them. And like growing up like super religious, like the Paranormal Activity movie was like what I thought was going to happen to me if I watched horror movies. Like I thought that, like that was like real life. So I understand where people come from with just not liking found footage. Like if you're just not into it, we're not going to convince you here. But like I feel like it sometimes gets like unnecessarily shit on. Like people always love to point out like the holes in like why are these people like recording and documenting, like why are they holding the cameras and stuff. And I feel like that's like, at least to me personally, it's so easy to look past that. I'm like, well, it's found footage, like they're like that's just the style of it, so like I don't really need this like grand explanation. Like it doesn't really
Yeah.
bug me all that much.
Yeah, I'll give bonus points like if you can justify the presence of the camera the whole
Yeah,
time,
yeah,
like
yeah.
awesome, great.
Hmm.
Like that's awesome. But like I'm not gonna live and die on that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that's not going to be the make or
Hmm.
break as to whether or not something's good. And for Blair Witch specifically, and why it holds up for me is there are it feels like there are things happening before and after the camera stops rolling. And so like
Okay.
I really like when you tell a story and you immerse it in a world where there's things
Hmm.
going on. It's part of the reason why two of my biggest hot takes as far as being a horror fan. Friday the
Hmm.
13th, Michael did it first and better. I don't like Friday the 13th. I've tried. It's just a discount bargain store Michael
Hmm.
Myers. But I grew up with AMC Fear Fest, and so like I've
Okay.
seen all I think I other than Rob Zombie's nonsense, because I don't really like
Mm.
hillbilly horror. I like 1 through 6. I like
Hmm.
H2O. I like parts of Resurrection.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
David Gordon Green's trilogy is what it is. I think they swung for the fences. I'll give them that
Yeah.
much. They really
Uh-huh.
swung for the fences. But I don't like Friday the 13th, and I don't like the Terrifier movies.
Oh
Because at some
no.
point,
I love
dude, you
Terrifier. Love Terrifier.
like at some point, what are we gonna do? Start throwing people into giant blenders? Like I just don't. To me, it's like I'm all for
Hmm.
style. I really am.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
have a problem with style. But for the love of God, give me some substance too. Like, I don't want a whole dinner of cotton candy. I want some steak too. And like those
Okay.
movies
I hear ya. I hear
just
ya.
yeah, it's all gore to the point where like and part of it is like I said,
Mhm.
I have the older that I've gotten, I have hard cutoffs. No kids,
Okay.
no
Okay.
dogs. Like
Gotcha.
that's where I'm at. Like
Okay,
and
that's
that's part of
fair. That's
why
fair.
yeah, I
Mhm.
don't really go for every single I'm not ever gonna be the type of content creator that's like, "Let me watch every single thing that comes out in theaters and immediately make a video about it,"
Yeah,
and
yeah,
all
yeah,
of
yeah.
that sort of jazz, because honestly, I'm not a huge fan of everything that comes out in theaters. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I definitely relate to that a lot. Real quick, back to your Terrifier. So like I totally get people not enjoying the Terrifier movies. My brother, he is like 6 years younger than me, and we both started getting into horror like around that same time. So whenever The Visit came out and like The Conjuring, I was like 12, 13. And like me and my brother always into movies, and especially like growing up older, he just watched like whatever I watched. Like I started showing him some horror. He really grasped onto it. Obviously watched it much younger than I did. Then he started showing me stuff. So he was actually the one, I think, when I was like just getting out of whenever the first Terrifier movie came out. It was like my first year of college, like around like 18, 19 or something. He was the one that showed me the first Terrifier movie, actually, which is so funny. And like I had no idea like what it was. He just told me it was super like fucked up. You got to watch it. He really enjoyed it. And like the first one, I'll definitely give you that. Like no story, more of like I think even Damien Leone has said like more of like a proof of concept, more than anything. And he really like Terrifier 2 was really what he wanted to create. But like experiencing that also kind of rejuvenated my love for horror too, where not only did I know I could be like scared by horror, but like be safe and enjoy it, or there's like fun horror, but there's also this other side of just like over the top schlocky carnage field gore horror where it's just like let me show off these like practical effects and let me show you something that's gonna like shock you. And for whatever reason, I think it's because like I obviously grew up like so sheltered with movies. Once I got like exposure to it, like anything that I couldn't watch when I was younger, I'm like, this is like the best fucking thing that has ever come out. But like, I totally get people that don't like Terrifier, but to me, like I know the story's not like all there, but just like more of like the story behind it where um this like low budget thing that turned into this almost like new horror icon. Like it's just such a, like an inspiring story. All the people are like so passionate, like all the creators are so passionate. Like I love the story behind it a little bit more than the actual story, but to me it's like one of those other like Scream just like comfort horrors for me, which again I like it sounds fucked up, but like I don't know, there's something about like an excessive amount of gore that's like so over the top it's not even believable, that kind of just like I don't know, like feels like a healthy distraction for myself. I don't know. Like I totally understand where you're coming from, but definitely Terrifier 4 when it comes out in October, I'm so looking forward to it. Me and my brother are going to Fantastic Fest this year, so I'm like praying we get into one of the screenings for it.
That's cool. Yeah. So and there's a whole generation of horror that guys
Mm,
like me are more willing to see because
okay.
that's the stuff that we grew up with. You know what I mean? So like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
totally get, and I don't begrudge anybody that's like, got a specific point of view on that franchise. And I love a good underdog story.
yeah.
I love that they
Mhm.
made something bet on themselves and created a whole new character out of it.
Yeah.
And that's really like I don't get me wrong. I was there one of the opening nights for Scream 7. I'll be
Hmm.
there in theaters for Scream 8. I'll be there.
Hmm.
But like for the love of Christ, can we just tell a new story? Like seriously. I made a
Hmm.
video early on in this channel
Yeah.
for a Hindi movie called It Lives Inside. And it's
Oh
it's
yeah.
all
Yeah,
told,
yeah, yeah.
dude, that movie, like next to no marketing pub. It was a festival movie
Yeah.
that ended up getting a theatrical release in the whole nine yards.
Hmm.
And like I don't, like, obviously my vocation, I believe in the Judeo-Christian God. Okay, great. I
Hmm.
do not need every single paranormal movie to reflect my beliefs. I just don't. And like I have a wider angle point of view on the
Hmm.
spiritual than a lot of my contemporaries have. So like
Okay. Yeah,
I
yeah,
am very comfortable letting somebody else from their culture tell
yeah.
their
Hmm.
story and have it taken as seriously as something like The Exorcist or something like that, where it's
Yeah,
told,
yeah.
it doesn't ask for permission, and it doesn't hold back. Okay,
Hmm.
cool. It was a different kind of movie. It was a fresh story, and I think it's criminal that more people don't know about this movie. I think this movie
Yeah.
is freaking phenomenal. I think it's
Hmm.
amazing. And that's the kind of thing, like, I love certain franchises, but
Hmm.
seriously, we can let franchises go. We can let them end.
Yeah.
It's okay to just let a story end. And
Hmm.
like and just give room, and horror's always been that space for new creators to be able to tell their stories, because
Yeah.
generally you can make a good horror movie for pennies on the dollar in comparison to
Yeah.
other genres. And that's part of, like, I'm a huge superhero nerd. Like, I love a good superhero movie and all that sort of stuff, but like the
Hmm.
MCU is the worst thing to happen to Hollywood in a hot ass minute,
I
because like
agree. Yeah, yeah.
everything's got to be $1 billion, everything's got to be a
Yep.
tentpole movie, everything's got to be a blockbuster. Why do you think we have all of these movies movies from the 70s and the 80s and the 90s that everybody points to that
Hmm.
would never get made in today's environment because they're not going to make $1 billion.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's frustrating too because I relate to that a lot where like of course I love superhero movies, but I also love like unique filmmakers showing their creation and stuff. And it is just like frustrating seeing like Hollywood and like filmmakers almost like kind of shoot themselves in the foot, like turning everything into a franchise, or at least like most things. Like I definitely feel that. And it's like frustrating for me too, because like the first Iron Man was that 2008, 2009. So like
Mhm.
I was 9 years old when that movie came out. So like the first like couple phases of the MCU were like incredible. Like it couldn't have been a better timing for myself. I mean, like a 9 year old kid getting to go see like Iron Man, like fucking incredible timing for myself. But then like, with most people, like right after Endgame, it just kind of like it ran its course a little bit for me. And I'm like, oh, we're still doing this. It feels like we're really, really limiting ourselves or like putting ourselves into this like structure that we don't need to be in. It's almost like what like Star Wars has always done of just like let's talk about the Skywalkers. Like you have a whole fucking galaxy, and we're like limiting ourselves to a handful of planets. Like it makes no sense. And I definitely agree with you because it's frustrating seeing that. Like I love the mix of both, where you get your franchise films, your franchises. Like every once in a while, I love stuff like that. And then you get all these like smaller films that just keep like bombing. And not all of them. Like luckily, there's always like a couple throughout the year that really like kind of like push through. Um, but it's just like it's frustrating seeing how the MCU kind of turned. Like everyone wanted to do the big franchise stuff. Now the franchise stuff isn't like doing all that well, or at least like MCU stuff isn't doing that all that well. We'll see with like Doomsday, but like it didn't leave like room for like the smaller stuff. Then all the smaller stuff feels like they got to do like franchises, and it's just like it got to a point where it just felt like movies almost became like templated. Like those franchise films just became like so templated that like things got like so stale. Luckily, I feel like we're kind of like starting to kind of push past this point because like this month, at least for horror, is like incredible. Like I'm not sure if you checked out Holcomb yet. I loved Holcomb. In a week or two, we got Obsession, and then we got Passenger coming out. We got the Back Rooms at the end of May. So I feel like we're starting to kind of push back that, and Holcomb made like decent money. It's definitely going to make its money back. So I feel like especially after COVID, the actor strike, writer strike, and stuff. Like I feel like we're kind of headed hopefully towards a better direction, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. I'm hopeful, especially because I hope for all of Marvel's success. And like
Hmm.
what people don't understand that are just fans of the movies and not a fan of comics.
Yeah.
Comics run in arcs. Comics have specific writers
Hmm.
for specific arcs. So they're not designed to tell one linear story across
Right. Yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
And I get
Hmm.
it. Disney bought it. And so the mouse needs to keep making money and all of that jazz. It's the same thing with Star Wars. Like, okay, I understand horror channel. I won't go too far down this and all of this sort of jazz. Otherwise, the audience is going to get mad at me. Um, but like you had a whole a whole universe of stories
Hmm.
to tell. Like you could go
Yeah.
here, there, and everywhere. And Ray had to be a fucking Palpatine. Are you
Yeah.
so creatively bankrupt that you couldn't do anything else? And like you couldn't, yeah, that whole thing was one hand not knowing what the other hand was doing. And if you're gonna
Yeah.
bring back Palpatine, fine, okay, great. You have a whole series of books that you could draw from the '90s that did it
Hmm.
first and better. Like those are exquisite, but no, they're Legends continuity. License them out. Make your money. That's a coherent story, not that jumble fuck of
Hmm.
nonsense that they put together and tried to call it a trilogy.
Yeah, that I like you said, I won't go too far, but like that whole Star Wars trilogy like really like broke me there for a second because like I was like 15, 16 when like I remember reading and hearing about Disney buying Star Wars and then planning this trilogy. I was like so excited because like I grew up with the prequels, grew up with the original trilogy, love those six films. And like seeing it like come back and I'm like, holy shit, like I finally get to experience Star Wars like in the theaters, like coming
Yeah.
out again. Like I'm like fine, like I'm gonna be a part of like what my dad's always told me about like Star Wars growing up in the 70s. And just to see like Force Awakens set up so much potential, and then just to see them like scramble and fumble the bag and like rush it out, it made no sense. And I feel like that's like the frustration with like a lot of these franchises is like I feel like like making a franchise isn't the problem, but kind of like what you were saying is like why do we feel the need to like stick to one like central plot line, like central like characters and stuff? Like you have the whole franchise, like that should be room to really explore like so many different things within your franchise. It makes no sense to kind of like limit that. And kind of going back to what you said about like Scream and Scream 7, like I think you're a little bit more positive on Scream 7 than I am personally, but it is just kind of like frustrating, like seeing them like bring it, bring it back to Sydney and not do a whole new not that much new stuff like with Sydney or really with the franchise. It's like, you could still do Scream, but you could still do your own thing within your franchise. You can like kind of reinvent yourself, and just to see them kind of like constantly limit themselves is so like frustrating, like kind of going down that easy path there. But yeah, like I said, I think you're a little bit more positive on Scream 7, unless I'm misquoting you there.
No, oh no. So my probably the hottest take that I'm gonna have.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay, that's what I
my
thought. Yeah.
my 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 quick and dirty ranking for the Scream
Mhm.
franchise: 1, 7, 4,
Wow.
2, 3. 2 and 3 are interchangeable
Mhm.
depending on when you ask me. I think 2 is
Okay.
overrated. I don't think there's such a
I
thing as a
agree.
bad Scream movie other than
Yeah,
6.
yeah.
I don't like 6. I don't like the and like okay,
Yeah.
so 2, 3, and then 5 and 6. Um,
Okay. Okay.
I, I 6 is the one for me where I feel about 6 how everybody feels about 7. And part of it is
Hmm.
I'm a Stuther. I think Stu's alive. I think you've written yourself into a corner at this point. I think you
Uh,
just need to bite the bullet and bring the dude back at this point. Like
gotcha.
have Stu be the big bad of the entire Scream franchise, end it off with 8,
Hmm.
but for the love of God, end it at 8. Like seriously, do not make this a trilogy. For real and for true, this is the first one where I'm like, okay, guys, even apologists like me, even like and for me, 7 is just a good old fashioned stick to your ribs, Sidney
Gotcha.
Prescott
Okay.
centric Scream story. And so for
Hmm.
all of the things where you're like, I don't really like that about the movie, I'm like, that's why it's my second favorite, is
Okay.
because
Fair enough.
you
Fair
got
enough.
Sid back and she's lighting the world on fire, and
Yeah.
somebody's telling her that she's past her prime. And I was that guy that like I don't clap at movies, but I really
Hmm.
wanted to clap when she was like past my prime. Fuck you. I was like, yes. Like Sydney Prescott is the goat. She is the final girl. She is
I
the
agree.
template for
I
a
love Sydney.
strong
Yeah. Yeah.
woman in horror, the whole 9 yards. And so like that movie for me is a plus. Like but I'm not going to say that it's a perfect movie.
Okay.
And also, I think I think it will lose something
Hmm.
if
Hmm.
if 8 doesn't make Stu alive. So like
Yeah.
here's my
I hear you.
weird here's my tin hat theory for 8 or for yeah for 7 and for 8.
For 8.
If you
Okay.
watch Okay, so if you watch the videos, it's not until like the ending portion of the
Hmm.
movie that it really looks like AI. The rest of them
You're talking
look
about like with
very
Stu in the videos, right?
yeah,
That's what you're talking. Okay. Okay.
yeah. So with the first several, it looks very clean. Like the
Okay.
video looks really clean. And so like I just and it's super nitpicky, but like that's the power of the Scream franchise, and that's how good the Scream franchise is as a whole. That you can like find like little things. There's a reason why
Gotcha.
weirdos like us still argue about who killed who in that opening sequence of Scream One. Do you know what I mean? Like because you read into little things. So if you
Hmm.
watch the reveal scene and the when Ethan Embry turns
Yeah.
and is like, "Isn't that right?" Opened up that gate, or they pulled it from off
Hmm.
screen because it opens the wrong way. For like somebody had to have opened that
Okay.
gate, not the person in the Ghostface costume. And the person who comes through the gate was like I don't
Hmm.
know, like 6 inches fucking taller than the actress that played Ghostface. Like seriously, if you
Yeah.
watch the
Yeah.
movie,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the actor in the garb is like a lot taller than so like
But I feel
I
like
think
that
there's a
that's happened a
world.
lot of times in the Scream
Yeah,
franchise where like the reveals just don't line up with what's going on.
yeah, and so like there's room to say
Hmm.
Stu's screwing with Sydney, and
Okay.
these guys were just patsies that
Yeah.
ultimately were going to get the Kevin Williamson's original idea for 3 finally played
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
screen
Yeah.
of the Cult of Ghostface.
Yes. I'm like praying that you're right. And like I hope you're not doing more work than the creators are doing more work for the movie. Like that's my fear that you are doing more work for the movie, but like I'm praying that you're right. Cause like
Yeah,
I've always heard that concept for Scream 3 and like how they switched it
yeah,
with like Columbine and stuff. I'm like, oh fuck, like that would have been so cool. And I pray that they're, maybe saving some of that for Scream 8, because I think that'd be like super interesting. But that's interesting. I guess I only saw Scream 7 one time, so I'd kind of have to go back to kind of like pick up on some of that stuff. To me, just like initial, like obviously everyone knew Stu was going to be back in the movie in some capacity, which I just kind of wish they never. It's so hard nowadays, like with the internet and everything, and with leakers. But like that would have been such a cool reveal if nobody knew. Like if they kept it, like if they did
Yeah.
a No Way Home situation and just like kept that under wraps. Like I really wish they did that. But like to me, the first like introduction to Stu and the reveal of Stu just kind of like, to me, it just screamed AI from the beginning because like it just, I forget the exact scene, but I think she's at her job in the coffee shop, gets this like random ass FaceTime call, answers it, and then it's just like Stu, like like no real like build up, not even like maybe like a voice that sounds like Stu. Then the next scene, like someone that kind of looks like Stu, but I can't make out the face, and then it turns out it's Stu or someone impersonating Stu. Like when they just had Stu show up in the first like 10-15 minutes, to me it took a lot of the steam out of the movie because I'm like, okay, this is what a lot of people were probably thinking, that they're doing some commentary on AI. Because if this is actually Stu, there's no way they'd reveal he's back like 15 minutes into the movie with a random, like super quick FaceTime call. So that to me, maybe it was my own expectations going in. It just like immediately kind of deflated it for me, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think Scream 7 is one that benefits if you big brain movies as a whole. So
Okay.
I will sit in big brain movies just as a general statement. And so with Scream 7,
Hmm.
I watched it again recently.
Okay.
Now that some of that initial hype had
Yeah,
died
yeah,
down. And it was my third time watching it. I think the first two were in theaters. This is the first time watching it not in theaters.
yeah. Okay.
And it you can tell that somebody whose first and foremost activity within movies
Hmm.
was directing it. Like, who's not a
Okay.
director was directing it. Like Kevin Williamson, incredible writer.
Yeah, yeah,
There was a lot of I need to move the piece here and I need to move the piece here. And so I'm going to move the piece here and I'm going to
yeah,
move the
yeah,
piece
yeah.
there. One of the biggest things is like, okay, if you're dating or if you're married to the sheriff and you've got a
Right.
whole police crew and all of that sort of stuff combing the house, nobody checked the attic.
Yeah, that
Nobody
was a little
checked.
silly. Yeah, yeah,
Nobody
yeah.
went up there.
They like
And
reviewed the
so like
house for like 30 fucking seconds. It's like it was the quickest thing
yeah,
too.
yeah. So I'm not gonna sit here and say every decision was
Okay.
bang on. I'm actually
Hmm.
one of those people that like I'm not sad that Kevin Williamson isn't returning.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
but that being said, I I think this is one that was like this is a story about telling stories. I think that's the big thing. Is like yes, it was
Hmm.
commenting on AI, but
Right.
its meta ness was on the nature of telling stories. And
Hmm.
that to me was a huge plus. Now, like I
Okay.
didn't necessarily like every Scream now has to have a huge set piece kill, like
Hmm.
basically from five on.
Yeah.
But with five, it was Wes with the knife through the corner of the throat.
Yep.
With six, it was the shotgun scene and
Hmm.
the ladder scene. And so and with seven, like they clearly had to have one, and so it's the bar tap and whatever. I think it
Yes.
adds a level of interesting to know that that
Right.
was probably dude's mom that did it. Like that's
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah,
what's
yeah. I guess you're right.
insinuated
Yeah,
at
yeah.
the end is that that was his mom. Um, so like okay, uh, you're really stretching at this point. Like at this point, that's some
Yeah.
schloptastic
Yeah. Yeah.
terrifier
Yeah.
stuff
Yeah.
going on. But like, and that's not really what Scream is, or like it's not
I
action
agree.
kills like that.
Yeah, yeah.
But like it's even at its lowest for me, Scream is a franchise that like I'll still watch six over some other horror, and like
Hmm.
six is a pretty decent movie up till the reveal. I think the
I
reveal
agree. Yeah.
legitimately hampers the movie. I think that
Yeah.
whole ending sequence was like, put the mask back on, accept your destiny. Well, you got what you asked for, dipshit, because she stabbed you
Yeah.
like 75 times. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yeah, yeah, I fully agree with that. I think I'm definitely higher on five than you, but like six, like the first time I watched it in theaters, like I really enjoyed it, but like the ending disappointed me. But then when I rewatched it for the most recent like review series that I did with Stream 7 coming out, I did like when it got to the reveal, I'm like, holy shit, like who wrote this? Like it just like goes off the rails, and it's frustrating because like a large chunk of that movie is like it's really solid up
Yeah.
until the ending. And unfortunately, I feel like that's just what I kind of felt about the same, honestly, with Scream 7, like with the killer being I forget her name, but the like I hear what you're saying. I like the like messages behind it, but I feel like to me it just felt like a little like flat a little bit just because the reveals didn't like hold up to the ideas and commentary that they were making. Like the neighbor character that was in 2 to 3 scenes that I don't even know the name of. And her motivation made like zero fucking sense. Like I still like I know what it is, but like I struggle to like even explain it. And then you got the one coffee shop guy, which was interesting at first when they like revealed him like 30% of the way through and nobody knew who he was. I was like, oh shit, like that's new. That's different. That's kind of funny. I kind of like that. But then you got the psych ward janitor guy that as soon as he pops up on screen, I'm like, okay, this is either the most obvious red herring or he's one of them. And he eventually
Yeah.
turned out to be one of them. So like it's frustrating because like I like the ideas, themes, and messages, but I feel like the whole story wrapped up into it just like lets that side down a bit. Like, it's
Yeah.
cool idea of Scream going more modern and commenting on like AI. Like, could you imagine somebody utilizing AI to like bring back a serial killer that tormented you in your high school years and now you're tormenting their daughter? Like, that's such a cool idea, and it's just frustrating seeing that they didn't, at least to me, like kind of pay that off. So,
Yeah, yeah, and I think this is one that so I had said that 5 and 6
mhm,
need a wrap up. They need
okay,
something to
yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah,
put the bow on it so that way it
yeah,
gets better retroactively. Um
right,
I will say 7 needs to
mhm,
be the penultimate 2 and 8 that
okay,
that ends it. And I think at that point if you tie it together, you can retroactively make it better. I kind of
yeah,
hoped that kind of end game for the franchise would
mhm,
be a 7 that brings the entire like Kirsch family into
yeah,
the whole Cult of Ghostface thing. And like,
yeah,
don't get me wrong, I'm a horror nerd. I loved the museum. I thought that was cool. I thought that was a
yeah,
dope
yeah,
set
yeah.
piece, all of that sort of stuff. But like, you mean to tell me that every single artifact from a very specific set of killings is not missed
Yeah.
whatsoever? Nobody is doing their job. Everybody's
I
sleeping
know.
on that shit. Like, come
Like they
on.
had
And like,
everything. Like they had everything too.
seriously. And you got Kirby, who everybody's like, yay, Kirby's
Right?
back,
Yeah, yeah,
Kirby's
yeah.
back. And they have her off screen for 3 quarters of it, and then they shoot her.
Yeah,
You know
it's
what I
so
mean? Like,
weird.
that's
It's
what.
it's so strangely put together. I agree. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I was really hoping the one thing that I was hoping for that I did not get out of 7 is that
Yeah.
they would finally kill off Mindy. Like kill off the Mindy character. Or just don't bring him back. Like for crying out loud. Just don't
They
bring him
needed to
back. Done
they
now.
needed to kill Chad in 6. I mean, he got stabbed to shit in 5 and then
Yeah.
completely stabbed to shit in 6. And I think
Is it-
don't both of them get stabbed in 7 too, right? I'm not misremembering that,
Yeah.
right?
They
It's just
both get so that's one of those sequences. So it's the bar sequence as a whole.
yeah.
If I'm being legitimate, like so did you hear the whole thing with Melissa Barrera? And that
Yeah, yeah,
she's
yeah.
the interview that she just did with Variety like yesterday or the day before.
Oh, wasn't she saying that she thought they were lying about the box office or something, right? Is that what you're
Yeah, she part of it's her sucking on sour grapes, like, oh, they made it up. No, they didn't. That's not how that works.
I know,
But
yeah.
then she says, well, then the only reason why Scream 7 did as well as it did, for was because it's a giant nostalgia bait trap and all of that sort of stuff. All right, listen,
Mm,
Bobo, I gotta tell you, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, and like,
mm,
I will stand 10 toes down and say, that 7 is my new second favorite and all of that kind of stuff. Why?
mm,
Because it's a fucking Sydney movie. It's nostalgia through and through. It's a
yeah,
nostalgia trap. Nostalgia's a hell of a drug. I get it. Like everything is nostalgic about that movie. That's the entire thing. The
mm,
boyfriend is literally quoting the first movie and making a riff on Stab One being like a cultural milestone for these kids growing
yeah,
up
yeah,
and
yeah.
all of that. Like that's literally they're literally nostalgifying the first movie and having her come in and being like, I see what's happening here.
Right.
How are you doing, boyfriend that's laying on the other side of the bed who's very clearly here and I know exactly what's going on. I loved it, but it's nostalgia through and through. I get it.
Mm,
And so like I think there's a world where like that nostalgia can work in your
okay.
benefit as long as it's building to something. And like
Yeah, that's an
unfortunately,
interesting point.
these characters like Chad and Mindy survived the entire thing because they were
Mm,
trying to make up for killing Dewey in 5, which was stupid. Like
yeah.
the wrong one died. Kill off Gail. Gail needs to go. Like she was like, why? Why is Gail still alive?
Hmm.
Like you had the opportunity in 6 to do her in
Yeah.
after 5, and like why could you not? You could have told a more compelling story, and then Dewey could have been the one that saved everybody
Hmm.
at the end, and you could have given him his final moment. But no, we got to keep the actress from Friends around who hasn't added
Right.
something meaningful to this fucking
I
franchise in
know.
like 4 movies.
That's the most frustrating part because like I don't know about you. I'm a huge Friends fan, so I love Courtney Cox so much. So like of course I'm gonna be happy like seeing her in the movie, but like to see her like it was so interesting going through the franchise this most recent time where they do something different with Gale, but then at the start of the next one she's the same old Gale. They do something like either
Yeah.
same or different, and then she reverts back, and then same with Seven. It's not even like they tried to do anything different with her. They just revert her back, and then she's still the same fucking character. And so that's the most
Yeah,
frustrating part.
that annoyed me to no end about six.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
like
yeah,
these guys are gonna die in infamy. I'm gonna write a book about Dewey instead. Okay, great, go off, Queen. Awesome. At least
yeah,
you're gonna finally have a redemption arc. They killed the wrong one, but fine, great. And then they just undid the entire thing, and she just
yeah.
rewrote the same book over again. Like, why? And then they made her the stand-in for Sydney. Like, it was never
Mm,
Sam Carpenter's movie. Like, that's the thing that
mm,
that Scream fans need to deal with. It was never Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega's movie. They even with six, they made Courtney Cox the central character, and everybody hovered around her. Like
mm,
and then seven with Chad and Mindy, like that whole bar sequence
yeah.
was the weakest part of that movie because
Mm,
none of the individual components made a lick of sense. Like Tatum, okay, great. First
mm,
off, if you're going to nostalgia bait everybody and bring back all of these people and all of that sort of stuff,
yeah.
you named Sydney's daughter after Tatum, and you didn't de-age anybody, which I actually appreciate. I'm glad that they
Yeah.
didn't go de-aging
I'm
everybody
surprised
that
they
they showed
didn't.
and all of that. Yeah, but like if you're not going to do that, I think Roman is a phenomenal Ghostface. I think three
Mm,
is underrated. I think it's finally getting a
yeah.
reappraisal. The fact that
I
that
like
movie
three.
even exists post Columbine is great.
Yeah.
Okay, but like remove Roman and put the daughter's namesake in the friggin' thing. Rose McGowan
Mm,
has said that she would be willing to do it. That's a missed opportunity. But like the kid being like, how far away is the news station? Your mom owns a coffee shop in town,
that's a
bruh.
good point.
Like what? Like and like that whole sequence of like she's like
Mm,
freaking out and thinking that Ghostface is right there and like goes to stab and it's actually Chad. Like none of that
yeah,
sequence made any
I know.
sense. And that's where I'm like, Kevin Williamson, phenomenal writer. I wish he
Mm,
would go and write the next one. Like
yeah,
but
right.
out of the director's chair. Like get out of
Hmm.
the director. Like you're not that strong of it. Like have you ever seen or heard of teaching Miss Tingle?
No, no, I don't think so.
Okay, so it's a notoriously panned movie, and it was Kevin
Okay,
Williamson's first crack at directing.
gotcha. Okay.
Um, it's not a good movie. But like also this dude is responsible for The Faculty, which is for
Mm,
alien movies what Scream was for slashers. Like it revitalized the alien genre. Dawson's
mm,
Creek, Vampire Diaries. Like the guy is a juggernaut at writing, not
mm.
directing.
Yeah. And that was like the weirdest thing when they like I know they were like trying to course correct with Scream 7 just because of like all the stuff going on. So it was just like weird hearing him announced to be the director when I feel like Scream fans and general audiences would be way more excited if he was attached as the writer and then you get I don't know some other big name for the director. Like that seems way better. And then when they announced like a couple months after Scream 7 came out that he wasn't going to direct Scream 8, I thought that was going to be like paired with the announcement like he's not directing but he's writing this time. Like I don't know why you
Yeah.
wouldn't like just pay him what he wants. Like I don't know why you wouldn't do that. It's so strange. So strange.
I'm hoping it's a situation where he's getting all the work because
Yeah.
Scream 7 was the highest grossing movie in the
Yeah.
Scream
Yeah.
franchise in the whole nine yards. Like I hope I hope it's because of that and
Mhm.
it's not another Nev Campbell movie or a move where like they're
Yeah.
not going to pay her what she's worth and so she sits one out and all of that. Um but like I think this proved that this is like I don't fault them
Mhm.
5 6 movies in and like every other horror franchise has had a rotating cast of final girls where like
Yeah.
there
That's
really
true.
isn't one central protagonist but
Mhm.
like 7 5 6 and 7 proved this is Sidney Prescott's franchise like
Mhm.
uh, uh don't don't like wrap it up with Sid and then
Yeah.
sunset this thing like go out
Yeah.
well, before you do Ghostface in space or whatever stupid nonsense that's going to be directed
Yeah.
to
Right.
DVD like that just and end it on a high note.
I really hope so. And I think for me, obviously, I'm coming at it from a different point of view where like I didn't grow up with Scream, didn't like experience Scream in the 90s. So like I kind of liked the like new shift they were doing with Jenna Ortega and Melissa Barrera. We're still having some of the legacy characters around, but like, hopefully after six, like I was hoping to see that plan of like seven being like their movie. Which, whatever, like you can't correct that, but like I really hope they need to give Sydney like a proper ending. And like you said, like they could set it off really well with Scream 8. I just feel like she is most people's like favorite final girl, if not the
Yeah,
favorite, or at least like top three. Like I feel like you really, really need, like, if we're bringing Sydney back, like Screams have improved, people still want to see that. Like give her her
yep,
proper conclusion movie. Like
yeah,
it's
and
right
let her
there.
like and two I can't, I'm blanking on his name, the husband, the guy
Mm.
from Community.
Um,
Um,
I don't know his name either. I was trying to think of it.
Yeah,
Not
Joel
the
McHale. Joel McHale.
Okay, okay.
So I was not excited when I heard that Joel McHale was cast. I don't think he's funny. I'm not a fan.
Mm,
I don't think he's very good. And I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah,
you're gonna try to cast him serious? Like you're
yeah.
gonna try to make us believe that he's like a serious cop? I think he did a
Yeah.
legitimately good job. Like I was
Hmm.
surprised at how well he did in that role. And the actress, I'm blanking on her name, that
Yeah.
played Tatum. Again, I think she did a
Yeah.
good job. You
She
know
was
what I mean?
solid.
Like I think the family component is good. So
Yeah.
like cool, bring them back. Let's not rewrite the script. We don't need to go back to Woodsboro. For the love of God, we don't need to go back. Okay, you burnt down the Mocker house, whatever. Like
Hmm.
that was fine. It was fine. Like
Yeah.
if I was benefited by I went like I do not do trailer reacts on this channel. I do not
Okay.
do any of that crap because it gives away too much. And like
Hmm.
at their core, Scream movies should be slasher whodunits. I don't want to sit there and be like, well, what if it's them? And what if it's them? And what if it's them? Like if you get off on that kind of content, fine.
Yeah.
Like if
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
adds
Yeah.
to the
I hear you.
experience for you, cool. But like I
Hmm.
don't want to be spoiled. And so like
Yeah.
I found out after the fact that like everybody's pissed off about the initial sequence because apparently in the trailer and stuff they basically gave away the fact that entire
Yeah.
scene.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. I at least like past couple years I try to stick away from like trailers and stuff. Like going to the movies so frequently, it's kind of hard to avoid a lot of it. But yeah, they marketed the
Yep.
shit out of that opening scene. Like I don't know what
Yeah.
it was a cool couple shots for the trailer, so I guess I see like why they did it. But yeah, I'm
Yeah.
I'm with you on that.
I'm you know what? If at the end again, I don't know at this point, but I said
Hmm.
this about seven. I did. I
Okay.
like at the end of six, I'm like, I don't know how you wrap this up without bringing Stu back. Like I just don't know. Like
Yeah.
creatively, I got nothing. Like because you told if the idea is bring the queen back to take back her throne, that's what seven was. Like we did that.
Hmm.
Like that is basically
Yeah.
all of seven is putting Sid back on the throne. Okay, fine. But like
Hmm.
knowing that eight is coming out, you got to do something. And at this point, how many random, like, I will give it to them. I loved that they tied in four and Out of Darkness. And they made it like they referenced that
Hmm.
and they referenced her dropping out of the limelight. Like, the individual puzzle pieces for
Yeah.
me carried the weight of the movie being a series of events. And I can admit it's a
Okay.
series of events rather than being a full and cohesive movie. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I am far more forgiving of that than the average person is. But
Hmm.
at this point, bring Stu back. 23 Skidoo, some bullshit reason as to why he burnt down the house. It's fine. I don't care. You can do it. Like you want to tie it together to get people to lay off that opening sequence. Fine,
Hmm.
but like stop. Honestly, I almost think that at this point, the best opening sequence that you can do is don't do an opening sequence because you've been chasing that fucking dragon ever since '96. You've never done one
Yeah.
as good as the first. Like that first one was so friggin' good because of the people that were involved. Because Drew
Hmm.
Barrymore, like at the
Yeah.
time in '96, people lost their minds because all of the marketing had her front and center. And
Yeah.
Drew Barrymore at that period of time was Drew Barrymore. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And like Nev Campbell, yeah, she had Party of Five, but most people had no idea. Like she wasn't a
Right.
leading lady in the same way that she was post
Hmm.
Scream.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that like back to our conversation about Blair Witch, like that Scream and Scream opening, I wish I could have been there for. But I think the nice thing about that, like Scream opening, it still works as such a solid opening, even if you don't know who Drew Barrymore is. And then when you do know
Right.
Drew Barrymore and like her legacy, it adds a whole other element and layer to it. But I couldn't imagine the outrage if they decide Scream 8, we're just not doing like some sort of cold open. Like I don't know, it'd be interesting to
Oh,
see, but like I feel like you kind of got to have it
yeah.
now.
Yeah. But like at this point, I guess for me,
Mm,
I don't need it. I get that
okay,
other people
fair.
do. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah, yeah.
necessarily need it because I would rather them subvert expectations, get real big brain about it, be
Okay.
like, we're commenting on our own nonsense and not doing
Okay.
the thing. And because at this point, like you got nowhere. Like I don't, I like
Yep.
you've got that. I at least give six credit that like one of the strongest parts of that was the opening sequence.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
whole idea of of killing off somebody randomly in an alleyway like that. Like, I don't know if you've ever lived in the city or if you live in the city, but like
Mhm.
I used to
Yeah.
live in New York. It's believable that somebody would be killed in an alleyway and nobody
Yeah.
would know what is going on, and even with the screaming and all of that sort of jazz. Like, there's a reason why I'll never live in New York again. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
that to me was at least interesting. It was at least different. It was at least
Mhm.
something more. And like, okay, fine, you're commenting on what you're commenting on as a whole with Scream
Yeah.
7, and that's why you're doing it. And so fine that that's what you're doing, but like at this point, I just think that your back is so far against the wall that I
Mhm.
don't know how you do anything that's not just going to distract from more from the franchise as a whole.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, I definitely agree. I'm with you. I like Scream Six's opening. I wish it kind of like played more into the movie and like had
Yeah,
some like impact. As a cold open, one of my favorites is the movie's not one of my favorites, but cold opening, I love that opening. Like it works so well. It's just such like if there's a mini Scream short that they threw on YouTube, it'd be fucking amazing. So
yeah,
it works for me. But yeah, I'm with you on Scream 8. Like if I kind of like that idea. If they don't want to do like a cold open, but like kind of make it like a reason within the movie and have a proper send off for Sydney, I feel like that could work really well. If they do something with a cold open that ties better into the story, like kind of comes full circle in some way, I feel like that would be amazing. I just hope they don't see the success of Scream 7 and be like, okay, like Sydney, how many more movies do you think you got left in you, and go all the way to like 10, 11, 12,
yeah.
and then just like cut it off, and then we get some like wrap up film that's like straight to VOD or something. Like that'd be my worst fear for poor Sydney there.
Yeah, yeah, and that's really what, like, going back to where we started this conversation with Nightmare, that's what
Yeah,
ended up happening with Nightmare, where like
that's a good point.
one
Yeah.
was wild, two, I'm of that
Hmm.
generation that I had a later reappraisal of that movie after the fact
Okay.
because I'm like my generation was taught to not like the gay one sort of thing. Like
Hmm.
that was the stigma around that one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, dude, Freddy, first off, the makeup spot on, spot on. Second off,
Hmm.
the idea that this dude can possess people and come out into the real world,
Hmm.
genuinely terrifying. Like
Yeah.
genuinely an entirely different take on something that was already horrifying. But like it is what it is. Three, okay, but like once three hit, and then
Hmm.
like four is the
Yeah.
highest grossing one because three was where people love that movie, and so
Gotcha.
people really wanted to see what the next one was, which made four the highest grossing one, and that's where you
Mhm.
get MTV Freddy, where he's in rap videos and he's all over
Yeah.
MTV and he's very much of the time, and you drug that out until you hit Freddy's Dead.
Hmm.
And that's critically the worst. Like for everybody, it's usually a toss up as to whether or not somebody's going to put the reboot as their bottom ranked one,
Gotcha.
or
Hmm.
Freddy's Dead, and that's exactly what I don't want to see happen with Scream.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're closing in on about an hour and a half here, and so the answer is we got to do this again. So y'all, I'm gonna go ahead and cut it off here. What I need you guys to do is, first off, if you're still watching this an hour and a half in, what I want you to do is chime in below and let us know what was the hottest hot take that you heard during this, and what's your favorite Scream movie. And second off, let us know, because you just might see Zach's face on this channel again in the future, because I could sit here and go for another hour and a half. So,
Me too. I'm looking
dude,
forward to the next time.
what I want you to do is
Okay.
let people know where they can find your stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Again, I appreciate you having me on here. It means a lot to me. So thanks again. Yeah, right now I just have a YouTube channel. Still like thinking about branching out to do different like social media stuff too. But right now, just the YouTube channel, just ZakIsCinema, just like it's spelled at the bottom of the screen there, ZAKIS Cinema, all one word. Find me on there. I'm going over the Ring franchise at the moment, and then whenever this comes out, I'm looking forward to covering all the new horror movies coming out in the month of May. So just dropped my Holcomb review. Going to finish out the Ring stuff and the rest of the stuff this month here. So yeah, appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, yeah. This is fun, and we got to do it again, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. We will be back soon with another movie review and essay. Until next time, stay spooky, y'all. Peace.